Welcome back, and in this video we're going to pick up where we left off in the previous video and talk about cost actuals and how actualizing the schedule affects cost as well in the earned value graph. So we had skipped talking about the actual cost curve in the graph from the previous video, but if you still have questions about the other components here, you can watch the previous video to get answers on that. So in order to study actual costs more, we're going to enable that graph, that curve. Now we said this doesn't match the earned value perfectly, although we've statused these tasks as if they went perfectly as planned, because doing that does not update all the components of the actual cost automatically. So to look into that, we're going to customize columns. We're going to search for actual, and let's add actual direct cost as well as actual total cost. So we add that here and we add that here, and I'm going to put the direct before the total. So we have it here. And here we see that the actual direct cost is 0, but the actual total cost is 2,000 less, which is the direct cost. So we know from that statusing an activity as planned will automatically update the resource-based cost, but we have to manually put in the expense-based cost. And this, in that case, it's a fixed cost, but this is still true even if the task-based cost is hourly or daily. You still have to manually update that. So let's say this ended up taking exactly as how much we planned, $2,000. Then the two curves for that activity all overlap. So we're only going to focus on that without the baseline, all overlap. Now if it costed less in terms of direct cost, then we see that the curve, it takes it the same amount to reach a lower amount because the actual cost is lower. However, we earned value as much as we promised we would have completed, so we are under budget. And if it costs more, the same thing happens the other way around. Now what happens if the actual duration is different? And that's more interesting. So if I go to task properties under general, I'm going to put in the actual duration to be 15. Now you can also change actual duration by customizing columns and adding that duration. So let's say the cost is still the same, for example. So we have the same costs, however, because the duration is different, once we show the planned value for that activity, sorry, I was clicking on the wrong one and wondering what's happening. We see that it took us longer to reach the same amount. So for example, at this day, we should have completed $30,000 worth of work, but we actually have completed 19, which means we're delayed. That's talking about the earned value, and the actual value is equal to the earned value, which means we're on budget. If this is different, then going back to that activity, we go to a sample date, for example, this day over here. We should have completed more, we earned less, which means we're late, and we paid more, which means we're over budget. And if we choose a value that's lower, again, going back to that same activity, we should have completed $34,000 worth of work. We earned 22, so we're late, but we've paid 21, so of that 22, we're actually under budget, but we are late. So that's how to interpret actual costs. Now, it can get more complicated when we're adding different direct costs that are different and changing the durations, but it's all going to be reflected in the graph over here. In the next video, we'll look at using script to automate populating these costs rather than having to type them in based on some model quantities.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.